We are told that life is unpredictable, that the world will often throw challenges at us we don't deserve. We are told to seek happiness, success, and comfort, but no one tells us how fragile peace really is. We live in a world full of noise, full of distractions, and full of people who demand more than they give. And if we aren't careful, we end up being pulled in every direction, losing ourselves and wondering why life feels so heavy. The Stoics had a different approach. They believed that the only thing truly under our control is ourselves, our thoughts, our choices, and our reactions. Everything else, wealth, reputation, the behavior of others, even our circumstances, is ultimately outside our power. This might sound simple, but living it is anything but. Imagine waking up every morning feeling anxious, rushing through life without ever pausing to reflect. We check our phones, compare ourselves to others, chase fleeting pleasures, and hope that the world will bend to our desires. Most of the time, it doesn't. And that's where the Stoic mindset changes everything. The Stoics taught that you don't need to control the world to be free. Freedom comes when you take ownership of your mind, when you accept that what happens is not as important as how you respond. This is what Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, meant when he wrote that suffering comes not from events, but from our judgments about them. When you learn this lesson, life stops being a series of blows you can't defend against. It becomes a series of choices, small, deliberate, and powerful. You start to notice how often you've been giving your energy to things you cannot control. You start to ask what matters, what deserves my attention, what deserves my action. Stoicism isn't about being cold or indifferent. It's about being wise, about living with purpose, about understanding that everything external is a test of your character. When someone insults you, Stoicism teaches you to pause, to breathe, and to respond with reason instead of anger. When plans fail, it teaches you to analyze the situation calmly and adapt without losing your peace. When life takes something from you, it teaches you to accept it gracefully and find the lesson hidden inside. The ancient Stoics faced hardships that would have broken most people. Epictetus was a slave, yet he wrote about freedom in ways that still resonate today. Seneca, wealthy and powerful, saw death, exile, and betrayal, yet he advised living virtuously above all else. Marcus Aurelius, burdened with empire, plague, and war, reminded himself daily that his mind was his own fortress. And the lessons they left us are not just historical. They apply to the modern world in ways we often overlook. Your social media feed might trigger envy, comparison, and distraction. Your job may demand more than your energy can give. Your relationships may push you into patterns of frustration and resentment. Stoicism is the tool that allows you to step back. It reminds you that the world is neutral, that people act according to their nature, and that your peace is not their responsibility. It teaches moderation in all things. Give, but do not exhaust yourself. Care, but do not lose your identity. Virtue, wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control becomes your compass. Wisdom tells you to see life clearly, to recognize what is truly valuable. Courage allows you to act rightly, even when fear wants to hold you back. Justice reminds you to act fairly, to give others their due, and to uphold your principles. Self-control keeps you grounded, preventing fleeting impulses from ruling your actions. Applying these virtues to daily life changes everything. When a colleague takes credit for your work, instead of anger or bitterness, you focus on what you can control: your effort, your integrity, your growth. When you face rejection, you see it as a natural part of life, not a reflection of your worth. When your plans fail, you adapt, you learn, and you continue with resilience. Stoicism also teaches us about the balance between giving and preserving ourselves. It's easy to become overwhelmed by the needs of others, to pour yourself into their lives at the expense of your own. But the Stoics remind us that self-care is not selfish. You cannot pour from an empty cup, And giving without boundaries leads to exhaustion, resentment, and loss of purpose. Being stoic does not mean you withdraw from life. It means you engage with it wisely, fully, without letting your mind be pulled by every storm. You learn to distinguish between what is essential and what is distraction. You understand that your energy is finite, and how you spend it defines the quality of your life. The Stoics often spoke about desires, how they shape us, how they enslave us. We desire money, recognition, comfort, or love, and when we don't get them, we suffer. But the Stoic asks a different question. Do I truly need this? By examining desire with reason, we free ourselves from being constantly at the mercy of circumstance. We stop being controlled by what we don't have, and we start appreciating what we do. Consider modern life. How many hours are wasted chasing likes, chasing status, chasing approval from people who don't care about your true self? The Stoics would tell you, stop. Stop letting your peace depend on the noise of the world. Stop giving your energy to things beyond your control. Instead, turn inward. Reflect on your own actions. Ask, am I acting with wisdom? Am I being courageous? Am I doing what is just? Am I practicing self-control? These are the measures that matter, the ones that define character and shape destiny. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This is not just moral advice. It is a guide for living intentionally, for navigating life with clarity, for building a mind that cannot be shaken by trivialities. The mind of a Stoic is like a fortress. It is fortified against anger, envy, and despair. It is strengthened by reflection, tempered by hardship, and guided by reason. It is free because it refuses to surrender to forces outside its control. And here is where modern life and ancient wisdom meet. Every time you face stress at work, anxiety about relationships, or fear of failure, you are presented with a choice. You can react impulsively, letting the outer world dictate your inner state. Or you can pause, reflect, and respond with virtue, just as Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius did centuries ago. Stoicism teaches resilience. Life will always present challenges. You will encounter betrayal, disappointment, loss, and pain. But these events are not what break us. It is our judgments about them that create suffering. Imagine this: someone criticizes you unfairly. The instinct is anger. The instinct is defense. The Stoic instinct is reflection. Why did this hurt me? Is it true that I am at fault? Or is this simply someone else's opinion? If the criticism is valid, I will learn. If it is not, I will not allow it to disturb my mind. Every moment becomes an exercise in mastery over self. Every trial is an opportunity to strengthen reason, courage, and virtue. Every interaction with others becomes a mirror, showing us where we can improve or where our principles need to hold firm. And yet, the Stoic life is not about perfection. It is about practice. Even Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, reminding himself daily of the principles he sought to live by. Even the wisest are human, still learning, still falling, still striving. This is the humility of Stoicism, knowing that mastery is a journey, not a destination. Modern life, with its endless distractions and pressures, makes this journey more important than ever. We are bombarded with choices, demands, and stimuli. Without a strong inner compass, we are lost in the chaos. With Stoicism, we navigate with clarity. We choose our responses instead of being dragged by impulses. We focus on what matters instead of being consumed by trivialities. Think about your own life. How often do you react without thinking? How often do you let anger, jealousy, or fear dictate your actions? The Stoics would ask you to pause, reflect, and act according to virtue. It is not about suppressing feelings, but about directing them wisely. When hardship comes, Stoicism teaches acceptance without resignation. We do not pretend the pain is not real. we do not ignore loss or grief. We face them fully, understanding that they are part of life's natural order. And in facing them, we discover strength we never knew we had. This strength is not the absence of emotion, but the presence of wisdom. It is the courage to continue when life is difficult. It is the calm that comes from knowing your values and acting on them. It is the resilience that arises when you understand that life is impermanent, and only your virtue endures. The Stoics also remind us to reflect daily. Seneca wrote letters urging reflection. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations. Epictetus advised keeping a journal. Why? Because reflection trains the mind. It allows us to see where we have acted in accordance with virtue and where we have been led astray by impulse. It transforms experience into wisdom. Even small daily habits matter. Waking early, journaling, facing discomfort willingly, practicing patience. All of these are exercises in self-mastery. They condition the mind to act with reason rather than react with fear or desire. They teach us that happiness and peace are cultivated, not found outside ourselves. Stoicism also teaches gratitude and perspective. When something good happens, appreciate it without clinging. When something bad happens, see it as temporary and within the natural order. This perspective allows the mind to remain calm, even in turmoil. It allows us to live fully, without being controlled by fortune or misfortune. As you continue living stoically, a quiet confidence emerges. You no longer fear what others think because your worth is measured by virtue, not opinion. You no longer chase fleeting pleasures because happiness is found in discipline, reason, and purpose. You no longer feel at the mercy of circumstances because you have learned that only your mind is truly yours to govern. Every moment becomes an opportunity to act wisely, to respond with courage, to practice justice, to strengthen self-control. The world remains unpredictable. People remain imperfect. Life will still challenge you, test you, and sometimes wound you. But now you move through it differently. A difficult conversation no longer ignites panic. Betrayal no longer shatters your peace. A failure no longer defines you. Instead, each moment is a lesson, a test, and an opportunity to apply the Stoic principles you have embraced. You begin to see modern life in a new light. The constant noise, the endless comparison, the pressure to perform, they lose their power over you. You understand that people act according to their nature, and that the world is neutral. It is neither for you nor against you, simply is. And in this clarity you find freedom. The freedom to act thoughtfully, to love wisely, to give generously without losing yourself. The freedom to walk through life unshaken, steady, and calm. The freedom to face suffering without being consumed by it. Through Stoicism, you begin to notice subtle shifts in your life. Your relationships deepen with those who share your values. Your work becomes purposeful because your energy is directed with intention. Your mind grows calm, resilient, and clear, even in the face of adversity. You realize that peace is not something you find. It is something you build. Strength is not something you are given. It is something you cultivate. Happiness is not something that happens to you. It is something you create from within. And slowly, life becomes less about what happens to you, and more about who you are becoming. You are no longer a slave to impulse, fear, or desire. You are no longer a victim of circumstance. You are the master of your mind. In this mastery lies true freedom. In this freedom lies peace. In this peace lies the power to face life fully, without fear, without regret, and without compromise. The Stoics were ordinary people like you and me, who faced extraordinary challenges. Epictetus, a slave; Seneca, a statesman; Marcus Aurelius, an emperor. Each endured hardship and discovered that the mind is the greatest fortress. Their wisdom is timeless because the human condition is timeless, and their lessons are yours to take, apply, and live by. Imagine the possibilities when you act with reason instead of impulse. when you respond with virtue instead of anger, when you choose courage over fear, justice over convenience, self-control over indulgence, the chaos of the world remains, but you are no longer swept away. You are steady. You are intentional. You are free. Stoicism does not promise an easy life. It does not shield you from hardship or loss, but it promises clarity, resilience, and a mind that cannot be conquered by circumstance. It promises a life lived with purpose, guided by wisdom, and rooted in virtue. When you embrace Stoicism fully, you no longer ask life for what it cannot give. You no longer chase fleeting pleasures or approval. You no longer fear what may happen tomorrow. Instead, you cultivate strength, peace, and happiness from within. This is the transformation Stoicism offers, a transformation from reaction to intention, from fear to courage, from chaos to calm, and gradually, imperceptibly, your life changes. You notice how you respond differently to setbacks, how you engage differently with people, how you approach challenges with steady eyes and a calm mind. You feel a deep sense of autonomy, knowing that the one thing no one can take from you is your ability to choose your thoughts, your actions, and your attitude. You start to live with intention in every area of your life. Every relationship is measured and meaningful. Every project is approached thoughtfully. Every interaction is an opportunity to exercise virtue. You no longer react blindly but choose deliberately. You no longer seek external validation but cultivate inner mastery. And in this mastery, life itself begins to feel different. Chaos is no longer terrifying. Loss is no longer unbearable. Conflict is no longer a trap. Life becomes a challenge to meet with wisdom, a test to grow stronger, and a journey to navigate with courage. The Stoics remind us that life is short, unpredictable, and fragile. Each day is a gift. Each challenge is an opportunity. Each moment is a chance to act in accordance with reason, virtue, and courage. To do so is not easy, but it is liberating. It is powerful. It is transformative. You are no longer a prisoner of circumstance, opinion, or desire. You are free. You are strong. You are stoic. And in this freedom lies the greatest reward of all, the power to live a life of meaning, purpose, and unshakable peace. A life guided not by fear, not by luck, and not by circumstance, but by the mastery of your own mind.